There's a specific type of loneliness that most people never talk about. It's not the loneliness of being abandoned or rejected. It's the loneliness of being surrounded by people who want your presence, but whose presence exhausts you. You sit in a room full of laughter and conversation, and all you can think about is the silence of your bedroom, the relief of your own company, and then the guilt arrives, whispering that something must be wrong with you. Because shouldn't you want this? Shouldn't connection feel like nourishment instead of depletion? If you've ever felt more lonely in a crowd than you do in an empty room, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you've ever cancelled plans not because you had something better to do, but because doing nothing felt sacred. If you've ever felt the urge to apologise for needing space, as if your nervous system's requirements were a personal failing. If you've checked your phone after hours of solitude and felt a wave of dread at the messages waiting, not because you don't care about the people who sent them, but because responding means reopening a door you just closed. You're not broken, you're not cold, you're not running from intimacy. You're experiencing something psychologists call social energy asymmetry, and it reveals something profound about how your mind processes the world. Here's what most people misunderstand. The preference for solitude isn't about disliking people, it's about how your consciousness metabolizes external stimulation. Every conversation, every facial expression you interpret, every social cue you process, every emotional tone you attune to, it all requires cognitive resources. And for people with high sensory processing sensitivity or introverted nervous systems, those resources drain faster than they replenish in social environments. Your brain isn't antisocial, it's just expensive to run. Picture this. You've just finished a dinner with friends, good people, real laughter, genuine connection. You get in your car, and as the door closes, you feel your shoulders drop 3 inches. The silence wraps around you like a weighted blanket. You sit there for a moment before starting the engine, and in that pause, you're not thinking about what was said or what you should have said differently. You're just breathing. That moment, that return to yourself, isn't loneliness. It's homecoming. Because here's the deeper pattern. People who genuinely prefer solitude aren't avoiding connection. They're protecting something more fragile, their inner world. For most people, the self is reinforced through external validation. They know who they are by how others see them, respond to them, need them. Their identity is a social construction, built and maintained through interaction. But for you, identity is an internal structure. It exists in the thoughts you think when no one's listening, the observations you make that never become words, the emotions you feel that don't need an audience to be real. And here's the critical part. That internal world deteriorates under constant external input. Too much conversation, and you lose the thread of your own thoughts. Too many faces, and you forget what your own feels like. This is why solitude for you isn't absence, it's presence. It's the only state in which you can fully inhabit yourself, and this creates a painful paradox. The world is built for people who recharge through connection. Every office layout, every social expectation, every cultural narrative about loneliness as pathology, it all assumes that human beings are meant to be together as much as possible. So when you need to be alone, you're not just satisfying a preference, you're transgressing a social contract, and the guilt that follows isn't irrational. It's the internalized voice of a world that doesn't understand that different nervous systems have different requirements for well-being. But there's something even deeper happening, and this is the part most people who love solitude don't realize about themselves. You're not just protecting your inner world from external noise, you're protecting yourself from the performance of being human in front of others. Because every social interaction requires you to curate which version of yourself you present. Even with people you love, even in moments of authenticity, there's a level of self-monitoring that never fully turns off. You're aware of your face, your tone, whether you're talking too much or not enough, whether you're being interesting or boring, present or distant. And that awareness, that constant low-grade self-surveillance, is exhausting in a way that's almost impossible to explain to someone who doesn't experience it. When you're alone, that performance ends. You don't have to be the friend, the partner, the colleague, the version of yourself that others need you to be. You can just exist, unwitnessed and unjudged, in the formless space of your own consciousness. And for many people, that's not just a preference, it's a psychological necessity. This is why some of the deepest, most introspective people in the world are also the loneliest in crowds. Their minds are rich, complex ecosystems that require stillness to function. Feed them too much external stimulation, and the whole system floods. The thoughts stop flowing, the insights dry up. What remains is just the mechanics of social interaction without the meaning that makes it worthwhile. There's a particular cruelty in this too, because the people who understand you least are often the ones who love you most. They see your withdrawal and interpret it as rejection. They offer more invitations, more check-ins, more attempts to pull you back into the world, not realizing that each gesture, however well-intentioned, adds another layer of obligation to your already overstimulated nervous system. And you can't explain it without sounding ungrateful. You can't say your love is exhausting me without breaking something. So you smile, you say yes when you mean no, you show up when every cell in your body is screaming for solitude, and the gap between who you are and who you're pretending to be grows wider. And here's where it gets complicated, because loneliness and aloneness are not the same thing, but they can look identical from the outside. You can be alone and deeply fulfilled, connected to yourself in ways that feel more intimate than most friendships. But you can also be alone and isolated, cut off not by preference but by fear, using solitude as armor rather than sanctuary. The line between the two is thinner than most people want to admit. The question you have to ask yourself, and this is the uncomfortable part, is whether your solitude is regenerative or protective. Are you choosing to be alone because it nourishes you, or because connection has hurt you so many times that withdrawal feels safer? Because sometimes what we call preference is actually a wound that's learned to justify itself. Sometimes the love of solitude is real, and sometimes it's just the least painful option available. And the truth is, it can be both. You can genuinely need solitude to function, and also be carrying unhealed wounds from relationships that taught you people aren't safe. These things aren't mutually exclusive. The key is knowing which one is driving the bus. Because healthy solitude has a quality of openness to it. You're alone, but not closed off. You could connect if you wanted to, you just don't need to. Whereas protective solitude has walls. It's not that you don't want people around, it's that you can't risk letting them close enough to hurt you again. But here's what I want you to understand. If you genuinely love being alone, if solitude feels like coming home to yourself rather than hiding from the world, you don't owe anyone an explanation. You don't need to apologize for having a rich enough inner life that you don't require constant external validation. You don't need to force yourself into social situations to prove you're not broken. The depth of your relationships isn't measured by their frequency, it's measured by their resonance. And sometimes, one conversation every few weeks with someone who truly understands you is worth more than 100 surface-level interactions with people who only know the version of you that's easy to be around. The world will try to convince you that something is missing, that you're incomplete without constant companionship, that solitude past a certain point becomes pathological. But you know something they don't. You know that the most profound connections you'll ever have aren't always with other people. They're with ideas, with beauty, with the quiet moments when your mind touches something true. And those moments don't happen in crowded rooms. They happen in silence, in solitude, in the space between you and yourself. So the next time you feel that pull to be alone, that deep, almost physical need to close the door and exist without an audience, don't fight it. Don't pathologize it. Don't let anyone convince you that your nervous system's requirements are a deficiency. You're not avoiding life. You're living it at a depth most people never reach because they're too afraid to sit with themselves long enough to find out who they actually are. And that room you keep returning to, that silence you crave, that solitude everyone worries about, it's not emptiness, it's fullness. It's where you meet yourself. And for some people, that's not loneliness, that's love.